Hello, Pocatello.
Hello, Pocatello.
This is Kyle Peck. He works for the Idaho Foodbank. What is your title again?
My title is the Development Coordinator for East Idaho.
Okay.
So here in our Pocatello warehouse, we operate for the entire eastern half of the state, so all 16 counties. So I do the development work for the Pocatello office, so all of the fundraising, outreach, community engagement, things like that for the food bank.
Yeah, what an exciting job.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I can tell you love it. I can tell you love it. Well, we're going to start talking about you. So tell us a little bit about you. How long have you lived in Pocatello? We just talked about how old you are. So how long have you lived here?
Yeah, so I was born and raised here in Pocatello. So my whole family is from here. They've been very involved in the community over the years. Got a lot of educators in my family, so a lot of people probably have taken classes from many of my family members throughout town. But yeah, I was born and raised here. So I went to Highland. I graduated and went to Idaho State University. So I got...
Woo-hoo! Go Bengals!
I know, proud alumni. I got 2 degrees from Idaho State. So in physics and political science. Don't ask me why I did those 2 together. Everyone always asks, and I don't have a good answer.
All it says to me is that you're really smart.
I'm not so sure
There's
about that.
no physics?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yep. I don't know about that. But I finished that up. I was in the music program the whole time I was there. So, I was playing in the symphony, which I still play in the symphony. I've been doing that for 10 plus years now, playing with the symphony here in Pocatello. And after I graduated, I started working for the university. So I did a lot of advising and recruiting for the university. Then I started working for the symphony, and now I've been working for the food bank. So just love living here, love everything about Pocatello, everything that we have here locally. It's been great. I know a lot of people around my age they have this itch to, go do something else somewhere else. And I've never really felt that. I felt like we've got so many things going on here to be, excited about. And so I've just enjoyed spending my time being here, working for local organizations and a lot of public organizations and trying to just do something for the community.
It's funny you say that because a lot of the people that we interview on the podcast say the same thing we talk about when you leave, you always want to come back. There is something in that whole saying, take a jar of dirt with you or you'll come back, that you always come back. I left and I came back.
Yeah.
What instruments do you play?
I play the French horn.
Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
Yep. So
will you send us a video so we can
absolutely
post it?
Not.
Yes,
absolutely
please.
not.
I'll find one on the symphony page. No,
you can find some clips from the symphony.
I'm just kidding. I won't.
I actually am. I did play on the symphony released an album about a year or 2 ago with this group that came to play with us, and I am listed on that album. It is on Spotify.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
I'll get you the info for it.
All right. Well, now I know where to find it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to.
There you go. Perfect.
That's awesome. I didn't know that about you. That's really neat. So how long have you worked at the Idaho Foodbank?
A little over 2 years now.
Okay.
Yep. So I started two years and some change ago, and it's been great. I did not realize when I started at the food bank just how much they do. I always knew, just growing up here, obviously, you kind of know like, oh yeah, the food bank's around, they do stuff. You can go down and you can get food if you need help. But until I started working there and learning about everything else that was going on, I had no idea like the scope of the work that was being done. And so it's been incredible to be able to be involved in a lot of that work that I didn't even know was going on. It's just behind the scenes. It's just constantly happening out in the community, things going on, people being helped. And it's been really fun to be a part of that and to get to tell other people about that.
I bet. And they really do a lot.
Oh yeah.
That's exciting. Well, what would you say is your favorite part of your job?
My favorite part is definitely working with people, businesses, whoever in the community to talk about what the food bank is doing, how to get involved, and just ways that we can partner. A lot of what we do is based off of our partnerships because we are a pretty sizable organization, but we're not huge by any stretch of the imagination. And so, we really rely on businesses, organizations, individuals in the community to work with us and help us out and, contribute whatever they can. And so my favorite part is getting to work with people to figure out, okay, well, you have a passion, right? You have something that you want to contribute. You have something you want to give back to the community. We have a vehicle for that. Let's figure out how we can make this work, so that you can give back to the community and we can be that avenue in which you give back. I really enjoy that. It's just nice to be able to connect people with opportunities to give and opportunities to get help if they need it.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you're very passionate about your job. I haven't known you very long, but I mean, obviously from all of the chamber meetings and networking groups, both of us are very involved with the Pocatello Chamber of Commerce.
Yes, we are.
And I can tell that you're very passionate, which I admire. I really admire that, because I am also a giver, and I genuinely care about this community. And I just want people to get connected. Sometimes they just don't realize what's available to them.
Absolutely.
And it's hard to ask.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard to ask. So being able to feel comfortable not having to seek out the information. Sometimes that's nice. So I love how much information you give out, and I can tell you're passionate about it. I just want to thank you for that.
Yeah,
I think that
absolutely.
It's amazing, everything that you're doing. So,
well, thank you so much.
And that's one thing I actually have on my list, is to talk about how our community is amazing. There are so many great people out there. We see them every week, and it's a lot of the same people, and part of Hello Pocatello is to help grow that network, because there are so many people that want to give back. They just don't know where to go, who to talk to. So thank you again for coming on the, podcast and soon to be YouTube today, so that people can find these resources, and maybe in a private manner. One of the things that I've noticed with fundraising is how many people show up. I do remember the cranberry sauce drive, and all of my friends are hunting down cranberry sauce. Thank goodness the grocery outlet ordered extra.
Yeah,
they ordered extra.
Great.
So anyway, what resources? We'll talk about resources, but also what if somebody wants to give back? Say someone like me personally. I know you can donate monthly. I know you can set up a monthly auto debit and donate monthly. But say somebody is how can I help? But not just during the holidays, year round. What needs are there, and how can our community support?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to answer that in two parts. So we've got, at the food bank, we kind of break it down into two sides of the coin, right? It's how to get help and how to give help.
Right.
And so I'll start with the getting help part. The easiest way to get help, if you need it, is through our website. So we have on the idahofoodbank.org website a map of the entire state of Idaho with every single partner pantry that we work with. So pretty much every single major food pantry, community center, senior center, any place that is distributing food out of a pantry in the state of Idaho, there's a good chance that we probably work with them. And we have an updated list on our website of everywhere. So you just go onto our website and you click Get Help, and then it pulls up this map. And you can put in your location. So you can put in Pocatello, you can put in, Soda Springs, wherever you might be, and you get a list of everywhere that you can go. So it gives you, the name of the business or organization. It gives you the address, their times, phone number, so you can get some information and stop by to get resources that you might need. And so we've got, I don't know, maybe close to a dozen here just in Pocatello alone. I mean, we work with Valley Mission, St. Vincent's, Salvation Army, Gate City Christian Church, all of those different food pantries. We work with them to help provide those resources. We act as as the warehouse. We act as the higher level of the network, bringing in all of the big bulk foods and donations, and then providing those to the pantries to make sure that they have their shelves stocked when people come in. So anyway, if you need help, or if you know anybody that needs help, I would recommend going to our website, idahofoodbank.org, and clicking Get Help, because it'll give you all of the information that you need on where you can go to get resources. And the barrier to entry is so low. We make sure that every place that we work with, there aren't a ton of hurdles or barriers. You don't have to provide all this documentation or anything like that.
Because it's hard to ask.
It is, yeah. And so all you have to do is you just show up. You might have to give a little bit of information. Like, for example, at the food bank, if you come in to get a bag of food at our office, we get your name and then information about who's in your household. So how many kids have you got with you, how many adults, and how many seniors? And that's it. It's a quick 10-second thing, and then we can get you some food, and you can be, on your way and
well, because it might help for younger kids that need milk.
Yeah, exactly.
You gotta have more milk if they're under 5.
Exactly, and it helps us. So it helps us to know Just that very basic level of gathering information helps us to know what's going on in the community, right? So if we see in the community a lot of seniors coming in, then when we're looking at, okay, what foods are we going to purchase? What do we need to restock in our warehouse? We can look at, okay, so we're seeing a lot of seniors or we're seeing a lot of kids. Let's get some foods ordered in specifically for those populations. So that way we can address the needs that are showing up in the community. So anyway, we just ask for a little bit of information and that's about it. And, we try to make it as easy as possible. And we try to make sure that all of the partners that we work with make it as easy as possible so that there are as few hurdles as possible. Because like you said, asking for help is the hardest part. Mm-hmm. Saying, hey, I am struggling and I need resources is difficult because we all want to, believe that we can handle it all on our own. Mm-hmm. And that's just usually not often the case.
Well, you can't if you're hungry.
Yeah, exactly.
That is the basic need that needs to be met.
Yeah. And,
there's a lot of things you can deal with and handle, but hunger and nutrition, that's going to stop you from all of it because you're not functioning.
Yeah.
You have to function to be able to get through tough times.
Absolutely. And even when we see we have our kids programs, to help school kids get food, that might not have food over the weekend or they've got a school pantry available or something like that. We see in all of those schools that we work with, the kids do better in school, right? It's just easier. It's easier to work. It's easier to focus. It's easier to, get things done and be productive when you're fed. And so anyway, we have this whole side of the coin of how to get help with the Idaho Foodbank. And we try to make it as easy as possible. And so all I would recommend to all of you is that there's a very good chance you probably know someone that is having a hard time or struggling, and they might not show it outwardly, but just let them know that we're available, that we're here.
It's an amazing directory.
Yeah.
And having that directory where you can seek this assistance privately, because not everybody is homeless. Sometimes it's just they lost their job or went through a divorce or, there's a lot of reasons why people need help. And sometimes it's just a leg up just for a minute. So that's great. I haven't been on that for a while, so I will make sure to share the directory.
Yeah.
I do try to keep that type of stuff updated. So that's great.
Yeah. We have 450 or so organizations across the state listed on there.
Oh, okay.
So there are pretty much any community that you could be living in, there's probably a resource nearby.
So what about the other side of that we were talking about? Say people want to help, or I know something that comes up in my mind is always, it's not just the holidays. Like people are also hungry in July. What can somebody in our community do to help as an individual or as a business, as a group? I know sometimes I've gone in and put together food boxes with a group before. Maybe we can talk a little bit about that. Just whatever you want to tell us. Tell us all the things.
Absolutely. So there are really three main ways to give. And this is true for really any nonprofit, any organization that you want to contribute to can use help in three ways. So it's volunteering, or it's donating money, right? So just sending in a check saying, here's $20, here's $50, here's $100, and letting them use it for what they need, because there's a very good chance that they can make that money go a lot further than you would be able to. Like, for example, at the Idaho Foodbank, we are able to source up to 15 meals worth of food for every $5 that's donated to us. And so, I challenge anybody to go down to the store and be able to put together 15 meals for $5.
Yeah, right.
So we can really stretch those monetary donations quite a ways. And so monetary donations are always fantastic. And for those specifically at the food bank, you can donate online, you can donate monthly, like you said, you can bring in a check, you can bring in cash. We'll take pretty much anything and everything. We'll use it. So that's the one way. The next way for, again, any organization is that you can donate your skills, right? If you have some sort of, we call them in-kind donations. If you have some resource that you can give, some skill that you can contribute, you can just ask. Just say, hey, I've been an accountant for 25 years. Do you guys need help with your books or something like that? Could I come in and, help with that sort of stuff? A lot of organizations can use that. And then the last one is sort of in the same vein, is volunteering. And so just coming in and again, I'm speaking specifically for the food bank, but we have groups come in on a very regular basis. Most every day of the week, we have groups coming in to volunteer. And what they do at the food bank is we basically take all of this food that we get in, because at the food bank, we get about, here in Pocatello specifically, our warehouse sees about 7 million pounds of food every single year come through there. And our staff is maybe 10 people full time, with 4 of them in the warehouse. And so when we have our volunteers come in, they do a tremendous amount of work to make sure that we are able to take the food that we're getting in. Like if we get in 40,000 pounds of potatoes that are just loose in these huge bins, we have our volunteers come in and we'll try to repackage those down into smaller bags that an individual family could take. And so our volunteers this last year, they made up about 8 full-time employees worth of time that our volunteers donated. So if you look at, we've got 4 people technically in our warehouse doing warehouse operations. It's Gene and Rory, and we've got Kenny in our warehouse, and then Kia is now doing all of our operations for the warehouse. Between the 4 of them, they can do a lot of work, but having another 8 full-time people helping us out, that triples our warehouse capacity, basically.
Yeah.
So that's the reason that we're able to move 7 million pounds of food out of our warehouse and into and onto the shelves of all of these pantries across East Idaho. So anyway, you can donate your time, you can donate, resources, you can donate money, and then with the food bank, the last sort of half one is you can donate food. That's really the big one that we're missing, is donating food. And you'll probably see it all over the place, especially around the holidays. We've got these big barrels, and they say the Idaho Foodbank on them, and people are out in front of stores asking for donations, and those all do come back to us to get them out into the community. So those are sort of the ways to give. And I wanted to follow up on what you had mentioned about the timing, like throughout the year, right? So the holidays are obviously a very busy time, and it's a very thoughtful time. People are really focused on giving back and community and everything like that, which is fantastic. And this is usually when we see our biggest increase in food donations, monetary donations, volunteer time, everything like that at the food bank. But like you said, this is not just an issue that comes up during the holidays. Some of the hardest months for people are deep into the winter, February, going into March, because it's cold. So you have to pay, to heat your house. And if you've got an old house that isn't insulated well, it costs a lot of money to heat it and make sure it's comfortable. And, you get in your car and you have to let it run longer to make sure that it's warm. So you're not driving it in 10 degrees, across town to get to work, or whatever the case is. A lot of times you have to use more resources in the winter just to stay, at a base level of comfort living your life. And so it's a time when a lot of people have to really pinch. And not to mention, you just spent money on Christmas, buying Christmas gifts, anything like that, and you're trying to pay those off. And so, one thing that we just like to make sure people know is that, yes, during the holidays, it's an incredible time to give, because you can really directly affect people's, Thanksgivings and Christmases and whatever else they might be celebrating. But that does not go away. Just because, the new year comes and it's now January, February, March, going into the summer, people still are working the same jobs. They're still having to pay the same amount for groceries. They're still paying the same amount for rent. The fundamentals don't change. And so, people do have needs throughout the rest of the year. And so we try to make sure that we are still able to provide consistently throughout the entire year. So, July is a great time to come in and volunteer, because we don't have as many people, so you can get in a lot easier.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
When people want to put together a group, don't you have to have a set amount of people? It's like 8, at least 8.
Yeah.
Just because of the coordination, it's too hard to have 2 people come in and
exactly
take the staff to pull for 2 people. Okay.
Yep, exactly. So if you want to bring a group in, we do recommend, kind of the target is maybe 10, right? People coming in, because then that's a good balance of making sure that we can get a lot of work done in the time that we have allocated. Because most volunteer sessions are about 2 hours. And if you do have, just one or two people that want to come in, though, we have sessions that we do walk-ins. So they're like open invitation, basically. We've got, a standing group that comes in, and it flexes from, a small group, 6, 7 people that comes in regularly, to 12, 15. And so we just have slots basically set aside for people if you just want to come in and say, hey, I just want to come see what this is all about. Come volunteer. You can come in during one of those times.
Oh, yeah. Good to know. How do you sign up?
Yeah, so it's on our website.
Okay.
So kind of back to the two sides of the coin I was talking about. When you go to idahofoodbank.org, at the top there's get help and there's get involved. So it's like the, get help, give help sides of the coin. And so if you want to get involved, you click on that, and then you can go down to the volunteer opportunities. And what you do is you create like a little profile, and then it allows you to go in and basically just sign up. There's just a calendar that we have of all of our volunteer opportunities. And so you just go in and you basically just register for the one you want to come to. And you can just do it all online. It shows you all the open times and everything.
Simple.
Yeah.
Very simple.
Try to make it easy. That's our motto.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I think a lot of people will love to have that resource. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Well, we kind of talked about some of this. So you had mentioned some of the other nonprofits that you partner with. Is it a lot of the churches as well? So just pretty much anywhere that has a food pantry?
A lot of them, yes. So we actually have pretty strict requirements about like food handling, food safety, things like that. I mean, if you're at home and you have, a can of something that you canned yourself, and you're not 100% sure if you did it properly, and it might be safe to eat, but it might not, and you want to take that risk, that's totally fine. But we are serving, out of our Pocatello warehouse, over 50,000 people a month. And so even if there is a 1% chance of something being bad or harmful, or, improper food handling that causes some contamination or something like that, even a 1% chance, that's 1 in 100 people. So that's 500 people of those 50,000 a month. That's a pretty significant amount. 500 people are getting sick from something that we're doing improperly. That's a lot. And so we try to mitigate that as much as possible. And so that extends to our partners as well. So a lot of the little like local pantries that you might see in churches or something like that, where it's just, come in and get something off the shelf and you can leave. We don't necessarily work with those. We work more with the like established kind of full.
Like Aid for Friends, Valley Mission.
Yeah. Like, they're sort of like staffed.
But people can go to those places too. Mm-hmm. I know I used to do a lot with St. Vincent de Paul, and I do remember the food distribution and helping out with some of that. And I'm guessing that Idaho Foodbank is a big part of that food distribution. Yeah,
we work with St. Vincent's very regularly.
Yeah, they really do a lot.
They do.
They help a lot. So I'm an avid thrifter. I love to thrift. I'm slightly addicted to it. And I will say I have to avoid going there because I have way too much fun in that store. I do so much. Yeah. I just can't believe it. I had somebody who went through a tough time and they needed stuff for a new place, and St. Vincent's filled it up.
Yeah.
They let them go in and get everything they needed for their apartment.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Including a really nice bed.
Really?
It was a nice bed. It was, nice. And I'm just like, I love that. I personally, when I put together a food basket, I don't care what people say. I throw candy in there. I'm like cake mix, things and the stuff to make it, because I know if you're going to bring food home to your teenagers and all they see is canned salmon and things that they're not going to eat, it feels worse. You feel worse about yourself. So me, I'm sitting here like Swedish fish and throwing all the things in there. And one of the things I loved about St. Vincent de Paul's is they had really good food that they were giving out.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that we pride ourselves in with the Idaho Foodbank is that over 80% of the food that we distribute is considered nutritious. So I think I was looking.
So are you judging me for the Swedish fish?
No.
Right now?
I'll get around to that. I'll get to that. I'm coming back around. But 2/3 of the food that we distributed last year, it was like fruits, vegetables, proteins, dairies, things like that. Like
things you need.
Yeah, like healthy, nutritious, well-rounded foods. So we really pride ourselves in making sure that the bulk of the food being sent out is healthy and nutritious. We don't want someone to be eating 14 mac and cheese boxes for their weekly meals. Yeah. But
I bet you guys get a lot of mac and cheese too.
No, we do.
At 40 cents a box.
Yeah. But I will say on the flip side though, while we do try to make sure that we are distributing out healthy foods, you are absolutely correct. The sort of human aspect of having a treat or a cake mix or candy or something like that cannot be overstated. And so when we get things in, like we've had sneaker stores, actually, they'll oftentimes bring in, if they've got stuff, that's reaching their date that they can't sell it by anymore, they'll bring it in. And so we'll have, have some sodas or candies or snacks or treats, and being able to offer those as well really makes a big difference because, I mean, absolutely, you should be eating healthy, and we want to make sure that we're not making people's situations worse. We don't want them to be eating unhealthy and having health issues. But on the flip side, having a birthday cake available for your kid's birthday is huge. That makes a huge difference in like an actual everyday person's life. And so we try to make sure that
they're already going through a tough time.
Offering that,
a 6-year-old's going to be very excited to see Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle mac and cheese. And they're already going through a tough time.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can feel like insult to injury. So I always tried to be like, at least like chili. Chili is a great protein packed meal,
Yeah, it's classic.
I love that. I love that you see where I'm coming from. So thank you. Thank you for validating
Yes,
me.
absolutely.
Well, one of the things that we discussed at Chamber Champions when we scheduled all this, were you at the Valley Mission one, speaking of which?
Yes.
Sorry to redirect. I don't remember because that was actually a pretty big group. And I remember going in there being really excited about that new building. And
Carl over there is doing a great job.
Listening to him, I could listen to him all day.
Yeah.
Because you can just tell how much he cares. He genuinely
absolutely.
cares. It's really important to me, the no judgment factor. I love that, what you're doing, what the Idaho Foodbank is doing, and Valley Mission. I love that it's like, we're not going to ask you a million questions. We just want you to be warm. And that's great. So
yeah, as a quick aside, I know we have other stuff to probably talk about, but I just wanted to mention that I think a lot of people have these preconceptions about what someone who needs help looks like. And I don't mean just physically, just their whole situation. And oftentimes that's not the case. We see so many people coming through who only need help for a month to get through. They lost their job, their hours got cut, someone ran into their car and they
their
had
house
to
burned down.
pay, their house burned down.
Yeah.
They, their basement flooded. Literally thousands of possible circumstances that could lead someone to being in a pinch, financially, and needing to come in and get some help for food. And so that is a conversation that I have with a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And, I don't think that it's ever malicious. I don't think that people have that notion in their head with ill intent by any means. But I have definitely had those conversations with people saying, it's not our place to judge. We've had people pull up to our warehouse in a Tesla. And, it might be a little confusing at first when someone's pulling up in a Tesla to come in and get a bag of food, but we don't know. We don't know their situation. Maybe they just went through a divorce and they lost, the house, and they just have the car, and that's, how they have to get to work. And so they can't sell the car, or they still have a loan on the car. We don't know. Mm-hmm. And so there are so many different circumstances that could lead people to needing help. And so, across the board at the Idaho Foodbank, and what we push to all of our partners is that it is not our job to police. We're not the food police, right?
The way I look at it is they should feel blessed that they've never been in that situation.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they just don't know because they've never seen that side. They've never been there. And they're lucky. They're lucky and blessed to have never been on that side of needing the help. Like, are you clicking the need help or how do I help? Some of us have been on both sides. Mm-hmm. And so it does change your point of view.
Yeah. Well, even I personally, like this year, I had to go in for an emergency appendectomy, just out of nowhere.
Oh.
Had to go get my appendix removed out of nowhere. And then a month later, the engine in my car needed replaced. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's just back to back. There's absolutely nothing you can do about it. And it just happens. And, luckily I am in a relatively good position where I was able to get through, right? But I mean, it's not fun.
And the resources would have been available if you needed
exactly,
them.
Yeah.
And that's why the no judgment to no barrier to entry is great.
Yeah.
One thing I want to point out is a lot of people that are on, disability, SSDI, that or they cannot, like, say you get in an accident and you can't work anymore. They're so tapped out by the end of paying all of their bills, that extra assistance is probably everything.
Yeah.
So I am with you there. I think that sometimes people do get a preconceived notion. I feel like around here, though, where we live, and maybe it's just the people I'm around, but in Pocatello, I feel like we have so many people that are just big-hearted and caring. So that's something that I take personally and really try to make those connections. And I love that you do that too. They just need to know where to go, but they don't know that they can just go get mental health help and all of that stuff for free. They think that like everything is limiting them. So all of the compassionate people in our area that want to help, I think all of us know, hey, everybody goes through a tough time.
Yeah. No, Pocatello's been incredible. I've had so many conversations with people from out of town who talk about how specifically they love Pocatello so much.
Thank you.
Because Pocatello...
I'm like, this is going to be my tagline, Kyle.
Because Pocatello always comes through to help the community.
They do.
I've had people, I'm not going to say where they live because I don't want to say anything bad about another community.
But we'd have to cut it out anyway.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. So I've had conversations with people and they're like, yeah, Pocatello really seems like the people here care about their neighbors.
And that's why we're here.
That's why we're here. That's a huge part. And it's absolutely true. I mean, I know, not to get even further off topic, but with everything that's been going on, we had the government shutdown and all of that. So many people reaching out to us to help, just asking, how can we help? How can we come in? Like, can we come in and volunteer? Do you guys need this? Do you need that? Can we go get, this food? Can we go buy these for you guys? Here, I've got a donation I want to make. Like, so many people. It's been really just so incredible because Pocatello is such a great community in that regard. So,
it's wonderful.
Yeah.
One of the things that we recently talked about was how the growth with Hello Pocatello was quick, it was fast.
Yeah.
And to me, it was exciting because the amount of people that have been like, how can I help? They're trying to take initiative to say, hey, no, there are a lot of people that genuinely love it here and it's a great community. And this is exactly why, because there are so many people with big hearts that would do anything to help their neighbor. And that warms my heart. I've seen so many farm stands and so many different people putting food out. And that's actually why I was really excited to have you here today, because I think a lot of people want to know what they can do to help. And if it's just as simple as I don't want to bring in expired food. Can I just donate $20 or can, anything, every little bit helps. So $5 gets 15 meals. $5.
That's a good.
Everybody can donate $5. Not everybody, but you know what I'm saying. Yes. A lot of people can donate $5. Yes. Imagine what you could do with $25. So
yeah, and also we can take food up to 3 years past expiration.
Oh,
fun fact. As long as it is unopened, shelf-stable food, we can take it up to 3 years past expiration date. So if you've got extra stuff,
my green beans that are expired,
they're still probably fine. Yep.
Okay.
But if you don't want them anymore, bring them on down to us.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So just basically, not like home canning is a little tough. I can see that.
Yeah, because we don't take any of that. So again, we have to follow pretty strict food guidelines.
So up to 3 years, though.
But it has, so as long as it's something you bought from the store that has like a nutrition label and an expiration date and everything on it, as long as it's within 3 years past its expiration date, it's still probably perfectly fine to eat. And it might only be 90% as nutritious as it was fresh, but 90% of the nutrition is still better than 0%.
Yeah.
So,
well, and nutrition helps you get a full night's sleep and function every day. So
yeah.
I did not know that. Thank you. Fun fact. Well, the main reason why we were here is because we wanted to talk about a few things coming up with the Idaho Foodbank. One of the things that you told me about is the Barrie Ski and Sports Cranksgiving.
Yes.
Let's hear all about it.
Yeah. So Barrie's Ski and Sports, I am trying to remember, they've been doing it for a long time. I want to say it's like 17th year, something like that. Mm-hmm.
They're great. They do so much in the community.
They've been so fantastic. So Barrie has always been such an incredible supporter. And this is the reason why we actually have a Bannock County Thanksgiving distribution here. Because normally, we don't specifically say this is only staying in Pocatello because, we work with places, Pocatello, Idaho Falls, Soda Springs, all over the place. But he wanted to do something, and he said, I'm going to bring in a bunch of turkeys, and we want to do a Thanksgiving distribution. And we said, okay, let's make it work. And so we've been doing that for, I don't know, decade and a half now. And so Barries will go out and they get a bunch of donations, and if you have frozen turkeys or monetary donations or anything like that, you can take them down to Barries and they can accept those donations. And then so that we can accept those up through November 21st. So that's a Friday, because then on November 22nd at 10 a.m. on that Saturday, we will be starting at Barries and we'll be doing a little bike mini parade where you can come bring your bike. You can hop on a bike. If you want to grab a turkey to take with you on your bike, you can do that. And we'll all ride our bikes down from Barries to the food bank warehouse to deliver all of the turkeys that were donated. So it's a lot of fun. And those turkeys literally same day immediately turned around to be given out to people here in our community that need them. This year last year we planned for 1,200 families and we served 1,100. So this year we're planning for even a hair higher than that.
Yeah, maybe this year.
Yeah, you can always come stop by Barries at 10 o'clock just to, it's just a little bit of a party beforehand. Everybody's got all their bikes just in the parking lot, just all kind of hanging out. And ICCU usually brings their, the green machine. We've got, Pocatello Police Department. They do a little escort down the road. It's not super far from Barries to the food bank. So it's a pretty quick little bike ride, but it's fun. So it's a good time.
Oh, fun. Yeah. Well, speaking of the Pocatello Police Department, why don't we just lead right into that?
Yeah, definitely. So speaking of turkeys and Pocatello Police Department, the Pocatello Police Department, in a similar way to Barries, has been such an incredible supporter of what we've been trying to do here in Pocatello for the last, however many years for our Thanksgiving distribution. And so they have also been doing a campaign for us. I think we're on year number 7 with Pocatello Police Department for their Give the Cops a Bird campaign. So not only is it the most fun campaign name, but you can take in frozen turkeys or monetary donations down to the Pocatello Police Department. And then they will also, collect all of those and bring them down to us at the food bank to then turn around and get out to the community. So those ones, it's the same, they said by Thursday, the 20th, I think it would be the 20th, but final deadline for sure is Friday the 21st is final deadline for donations for both Barries and Pocatello.
I was going to say, so 2 deadlines. Okay.
Yep. So Friday, November 21st, if you've got a frozen turkey, if you've got some money that you want to set aside, if you go down to, I know Grocery Outlet has been incredible here and they are doing something, I think right now it's like $125. You spend that and you get a turkey. And so, if you get an extra frozen turkey that you're not sure what to do with, take it down to Barries, take it down to the Pocatello Police Department, bring it down to us at our warehouse, and we'll get those turned around and out to people so they can, sit down and have a Thanksgiving meal with their families.
Do you know if Winco is doing their pay a certain amount or spend a certain amount and get a turkey?
I'm sure that they are. Most of the stores do.
Because some people, my boys don't love turkey. I get the turkey and I donate it. I feel like I gave it to Puerto Vallarta, and they were overflowing with turkeys because they have their free Thanksgiving dinner. But we go with ham and a traditional dish from my family, so I always get the turkey and donate it. Yeah. But I think it's you get your regular grocery trip, just add that extra turkey.
Oh yeah, it's easy to spend $125 on groceries. Yeah. So.
Well,
easy peasy.
So we have an event that we were going to talk about with the football game. I don't want to mess it up.
Yes.
I really wish I was a sports person. I need to get better. But
no, that's all right. I'm not a huge football fan either, but I am a huge ISU fan.
Same. Exactly. Yeah. I'm like,
I'm a big ISU. I will support ISU until the day that I die.
I'm also alumni. So,
So anyway, ISU and U of I every year. So it is somewhat related to the Thanksgiving thing, but not really related to turkeys. But they have a football game every year, the same day that we do our big Thanksgiving distribution. And so it's like a fun rivalry game, and they've been doing it for the last few years. And with that, both alumni associations have years ago decided that they wanted to do a fundraiser for the Idaho Foodbank. And so it used to be a competitive thing, right? Where it was like, okay, well, ISU is going to see if we can bring in more money than U of I. And it's just a competition to see who can bring in the most money, bring in the most food to support the Idaho Foodbank through the holiday season. The last couple of years, we've been changing it to more of just a collaborative campaign. So it's less of a competition and more of just, we're working together across the state, top to bottom, to bring in food and resources for the food bank. But I should probably not say this. I personally want ISU to win. And so even though it's not a competition between the two schools, and I have to say that it's not a competition. It's not. It's a collaborative campaign. They're working together to bring in donations. But if you go to the website, there is a spot where you can check ISU or U of I if you make a donation. And so I personally want to see more people checking that ISU box than the U of I box. But that's just me.
Well, you have a reason for your bias. You did used to work there.
Yes. Went to school there, used to work there.
Yeah. Well, and we both see how much ISU does for our community as well.
They're incredible.
Right, I know.
Yeah. So anyway, I know the game is up in Moscow this year, but if you are interested, or want to learn more, you can go to the Alumni Association's pages, and they'll be putting out more information the week of the game, just on some fun things that they'll be doing. And I think that they've been talking about maybe doing some fun little side bets on who wins the game, who brings in the most money, things like that. Just sort of a very friendly, collaborative campaign.
And it's a win-win.
Yes.
Everybody wins.
Yep. Absolutely.
Well, not the game.
Well,
everybody wins.
Yeah.
So I really like that. Well, is there anything else that you'd like to talk about that's coming up or in the future? I know you talked about, so I've got my gears are turning. I'm like, what about February? I'm trying to think some things that maybe we could do to support maybe me and some of the sponsors, partners. So anything else that you would like to add?
Oh, there's so much, but I think we've hit the important parts. Well, that is true.
Yes.
But I think we've hit all of the important parts. Yeah. So,
and we could maybe even try to do this every couple months. Sure. Anything you'd like to promote, feel free to reach out. I know there's a lot of people that are going to be interested in what you're saying today. So that's really exciting.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to come in.
Pre-holidays, this is where people get a little stressed out. And, it goes through your mind. You're like, oh, I've got to have 2 huge meals planned, plus the gifts, plus all the, some of us are working 24/7. So it's tough. So I really think this information getting out right now is great. In the future, I'd love to get together again, and maybe some of the other people can come join us too. We can have more than one guest, and we can talk about a few things. Maybe do a little bit more of a roundtable.
Yeah, anytime.
All right, awesome.
Anytime
well, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. Thank you for all of the amazing information, including the fun fact and the tips that I did not know. I'll end with this. My teenager is more of an adult than I am. He is very mature, I joke that he's 60 in a 14-year-old's body, but he is really weird about expiration dates.
Really?
He'll be like, Mom, this expired in October. And I'm like, it's November. It's fine. They're like, well, I'm not eating it. So
fine.
I'm going to play this for him and say, he works at the food bank. Are we going to keep having this debate?
I know. I just went through my whole pantry actually and got rid of all the stuff. And I followed all of the food bank rules on what to keep and what to get rid of. So
I have a bunch of stuffing. I bought 8 packs of stuffing to donate because that's my favorite. That stuffing, deviled eggs, and the rolls, all the things that I probably shouldn't be eating. But stuffing is one of my very favorites. So I've got a bunch of stuffing. I heard somewhere that there was a stuffing drive.
Yeah.
I don't know who's doing it, but I was here's all the stuffing.
It might have been ours. We had all of our volunteer groups that came in, they were having a friendly competition. We call it our holiday food fight. So they were all competing to see who could bring in the most stuffing.
Did it already happen?
It did.
Oh, it's okay. I'll still do it. I thought it was the cranberry sauce. And I hate cranberry sauce.
We've done a lot of different.
We've done a lot of different.
We really like the fun competitions where it's like business versus business, or volunteer group versus volunteer group, school versus school.
Here we go. Let's end with this. What is your favorite Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner item?
Ooh, stuffing for Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Absolutely. Hands down. I agree with you. Turkey, not my favorite meat. For Thanksgiving, we would always do lasagna.
Lasagna?
Yeah, lasagna, or for Christmas, sorry. For Christmas, it was lasagna. So we've just done lasagna for years now. It just kind of became a tradition, and so that's sort of my go-to.
We do
Christmas
rouladen,
meal.
and a lot of people don't know what it is. It's
Yeah.
a traditional German dish, and my grandma was from Germany. Cody,
Cool.
what's your favorite Thanksgiving or Christmas meal item?
I love turkey.
Turkey?
Turkey,
Oh.
I love turkey. I look forward to it.
Well, then maybe you'll give us the tricks on how to cook it correctly so it's not dry. Yeah.
Pretty good.
You could wave a little bit in the camera. Hi. All right. Well, thank you so much again, Kyle,
Yeah, thanks for
joining
having me.
us
Appreciate
today.
it.
And we'll get this information out there for everybody.
Sounds good. Thank you.